What's happening, guys? It's Spice and welcome to another episode of Suck Less. In today's episode, I'm going to help you guys suck less at After Effects, specifically Adobe After Effects CC 2020. So should we jump straight into it? Let's go. So this episode is completely for you guys who have no idea how to use this app. Maybe you just want a refresher, but it's basically getting started. So if you know this stuff, just skip to the next one. Anyway, so when you first start the app, the program, you might get a little dialog box on top of this which says new project around here-ish. You can just click that. If that doesn't come up, no worries. File, new project, done. Right, so then this lovely screen comes up which is nice and blank for you to do whatever you desire with. First of all, we want to create a composition. So a composition is what it says on the tin. It's a composition of all your things put into one composition. So we can either create a new composition from scratch which has nothing in it, so we can do whatever we want, or we can use a new composition from footage. So basically if you film something and you want to use effects on that, that's the one you want. So for now, let's just do new composition from footage. Boom, here it is. I'm going to use this one.
What's happening, guys?
Oh, okay. So here he is. He's come in. What happens when you create a new composition from footage is it creates a composition exactly the same size as the footage, the same resolution, the same frame rate as the footage you filmed. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Now, if you don't know what it is, or if you want something completely different, you have to go new composition at the top, new composition. Change it to the test comp, whatever you want to call it. Give it a name. And then you can change a preset here. I've just got the preset of the 720, 25 frames. Or you could just create a custom one. So the width and the height. So I've got 1280 by 720. That's 720 HD, right? I've also got frame rate 25, so that's 25p. So we've got resolution full. Okay, there we go. So I've created two compositions. As you can see in the left-hand side on this project window, everything that I import into my project, every new composition I create, it all comes into this, which is like a little bin to keep all of your stuff together so that you can't lose it. So I've got test comp, which is the one I just made. I've also got suck less intro vid, which is the composition, as you can see from this little icon here, the composition that it created for me from the suck less intro vid. I've also got the suck less intro vid.mp4, which is the thing I just imported. Helps me a lot. Right, so if we want to go on to the suck less intro vid composition, here it is. It opens up this down the bottom. It comes up in our composition window. Here it is. Down here at the bottom is the timeline. So the timeline, as you can see, it's got the suck less intro vid.mp4 in there. All of our different layers will come there. It's a hierarchical thing, so the higher they are, they'll be like over the top of the other layers, right? So this is the timeline. If you scroll through here, you can see it scrolls through all of the seconds of the video. Because we got our new composition created from footage, it automatically makes it the correct length. It's 24 seconds. So win-win. So we can scrub through it and see the different places. I'll talk through all of this. We've got keyframes, we've got transitions, we've got transformations. We could do all that in there, but I'll talk through that in another video. Next, we've got the composition window. I'll talk about that in a minute actually, because that will come back. On the right here, we've got all of our other windows, which might be useful. My favourite ones are effects. We'll definitely use lots of them in other videos, so keep an eye on where that is. And I also love Tracker. Tracker is awesome, so we'll go through that later as well. Next up here is probably one of the most important things if you don't use hotkeys, but I'll show you some of the hotkeys anyway. This is the toolbar. Selection tool is the tool you need. Selection tool, hotkey V, right? So if you want to select anything, if you want to select any assets, if you want to change any of these things down in the timeline, if you want to click and drag something to it, you need the selection tool. After Effects is one of those places where if you had the hand tool selected, it won't let you grab anything. It just moves. This is the hand tool, right? The hand tool only moves your canvas. So it won't select specific assets within your canvas. It only lets you move your canvas. So if you're zoomed right in on the mouth and you want to move up to the eyes without zooming out, you use the hand tool and boom, there it is. But if you use the select tool and you click on it, it will literally change where that asset is on the canvas. So you've got to make sure you use the right tool for the job. So selection tool is to select specific assets and change things. Selection tool is basically where you want to be most of the time. Hand tool, as I mentioned, it moves your canvas around the screen without moving assets on it. So that's really useful when you're zoomed in, like I said. The magnification tool, which is, I think is Z, zoom tool. If you click and drag over an area, say I just want the eyes, it zooms in to that point, right? If you hold down Alt, you can click and you can zoom out. Another useful thing for zoom, I'll just press V to get back to the selection tool because that's the favorite tool. Down here, you've got what's called a magnification ratio pop-up. So that's set to 25% at the moment. My favorite one is fit or fit up to 200%. They both do the same thing unless you've got a really small project, which basically makes the project, the window, as big as possible before you lose anything. So everything's still contained on it, but it's as big as it can be until it's not. So that's probably your favorite one. It's my favorite one. It will be your favorite one. I have no doubt about it. Also, you've got these other ones here. So if we want to go 12.5%, we can go really, really small. Or we can go 16,000% and we can go, there's my nostril. But I'm just going to do fit. Next, we've got the rotation tool, which only lets you rotate assets. It doesn't rotate the whole canvas. So for example, I've got my MP4 vid. If I click on that, I can rotate that on the canvas. But I don't want to do that now. Unified camera tool we'll do later because it's 3D environments. Pan behind anchor tool we'll talk about later. Rectangle tool. If you hold that down, you've got rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, ellipse tool, polygon tool, star tool. It's basically shapes. You can just create shapes. So if I do that, there we go. It creates a shape mask. And it just easily does it for you. If I just want the eyes, I can create a shape mask right over the eyes. It does it for me. Boom. Next, pen tool. Pen tool is a G if on the hotkeys. Pen tools are really useful for masks. We'll be using these a lot. If you just click on parts, I'm going to do a really shoddy mask now. Just to create a mask around me quickly and join it together. Boom, it creates a mask straight over me, gets rid of the background that's outside of the mask. Masks are so useful. We will be doing a lot of masks. I will go through them later. So we've got this mask. Let me just get rid of that mask because I don't need it. That wasn't the button. I need to select tool first. Mask, delete. There we go. Next, it's the horizontal type tool. It's basically text. Literally, you can just type on it and you can type text. And because I made it so small, you can't see it. But get ready. There it is. Boom. It's just a text tool. And it also creates a new text layer for you when you use the text tool. So there it is. Boom. Next, brush tool. Brush tool is literally just a brush tool. You can draw stuff on it with the brush tool. Enough said. Clone stamp tool. The clone stamp tool is basically if you've got like a background and you want a part of the background to look the same as over here as it does over here, you can use the clone stamp tool and you go select this bit. Now paste it to that bit and it does it. So that's nice and easy. We'll go through that later. Eraser tool. It's pretty standard. If you have used a brush tool and you didn't like a bit of it, you rub it out. Next is the roto brush tool, which is really useful. So the roto brush tool is basically like quick selection on Photoshop if you've ever used that. You just want to like select a bit. So for example, when you use the roto brush tool, you have to go onto your layer. So on your composition window, you can see it says composition up here, layer none. If I double click on the MP4, boom, layer, subvid, there we are. We're on this one. We're not on the composition that's underlined. We're on the layer underlined. Right. Now we're on the quick selection tool or the roto brush tool. As you can see, if you can see, it's a really tiny green crosshair. If I scrub up over that, scrub up over me, boom, there we go. And it selects, you see this pink outline? It's a pink. I was going to say purple, but it's pink. See the pink outline? That's what's selected. Everything outside that's not selected. However, it's got this back of the chair, which I don't want at all. So if I press down and hold the Alt key, it turns to red. And then I can draw a line through that. Boom, it gets rid of that for me. There we go. And then I just need to neaten it up around the chin because it's taken out some of that because the black of my beard and the black of my seat are so similar. It's done that. It's made a little mask. So now if we go back to the composition window, there we go. There's no background on it. Wow, it's amazing. Next. Have I spoken about everything? I think I probably have. Guys, I will go through loads more. Oh, there's one more thing. Is there one more thing? Layers. Here we go. Layers, new. So if you want to create a new layer, you've got all these different layers. Text layer, which as I said, creates for you if you use the text tool. But sometimes you don't want to use the text tool, you just want a text layer. Next is the solid layer. Solid layers we'll use a lot because if you're going to use effects on their own, you want to put them on a solid layer. But we'll go through that later when we use them. Light and camera we won't really use too much straight away because they're for 3D things. But we're not going to do 3D straight away. So waiting for the 3D video. Null object is really useful for trackers. So we'll use that quite a bit. Null object is basically there's nothing there. but you can transform it, and it's just a little like wireframe square, and you can move the wireframe square and connect things to it. So that's really useful. I'll go through that later. Shape layer is just shape layer, like you just create a new shape on it. Adjustment layer is really useful if you want an effect to affect everything else within the composition, but you don't want to put them on specific layers. Like if I put an exposure layer, exposure effect directly onto the suck less video, it will expose the suck less video, but it won't expose the text layer. So if I had lots of other layers as well, like a background on top of this, it wouldn't expose that. If I want to expose the whole thing, then I put it on a adjustment layer, and it will expose everything. We'll get into that, don't worry guys. Content aware fill layer we'll talk about later, but it's basically like content aware fill. So basically it fills blank spaces with what it guesses. It's like Photoshop, basically. Like I can't remember what the tool is on Photoshop, but it's like the one on Photoshop. And then you've got a Photoshop file and a Cinema 4D file, which are pretty standard. The only other thing that's just come up, which I'll show you, is on the left here, we've got effect controls, where our project files used to be. Guys, where's our project bin? How are we going to select something else? All I do is scroll across, but you can just use this arrow and choose which one you want to go to, but I just scroll across on my scroll pad. So project is the one you want to use. Effects, the specific fine-tuning effects. So at the moment it's the roto brush effect because I've just roto brushed this. So if I want to change that feather, whoop, 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 it makes it, look at my ear, it's so blendy. If I want to shift the edge, whoop, there we go, look, shift the edge out, and now there's a big halo around me. Anyway, guys, that's all for today's really quick video of me talking really fast. If you've heard anything that I said and you want to ask me a question, then do. If you understood anything I've said and you want to watch another video, there's one coming. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Thank you, love you, bye. Bye.